What's going on, guys? Bexio back, and today we got a brand new video on Bitcoin because the government just seized a whole bunch of Bitcoin, about $4.5 billion worth, and I mean, that's so much. That's the most they've ever gotten in any seize ever. So we're gonna have to see what they end up doing with it. But before we jump into all this Bitcoin news, because there's a lot going on in Bitcoin, if you're not subscribed, make sure that you smash that sub button because we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. But let's jump straight into this U.S. news here. You can see the U.S. accuses couple for laundering $4.5 billion in Bitcoin tied to Bitfinex hack. So this is the hack in 2016 that happened in Bitfinex where they stole Bitcoin, and now it's worth $4.5 billion. Right here, you can see this goes against everything that the people who hate Bitcoin, the governments, everything saying it's a safe haven for criminals. And this right here saying it was the Justice Department's largest ever financial seizure. This Deputy Attorney General said, adding in a statement that it shows cryptocurrency is not a safe haven for criminals. Obviously, it's not. Everyone who knows about Bitcoin and crypto knows it's not because it is not anonymous. You can track wallet addresses. It's pseudo-anonymous. At least Bitcoin is pseudo-anonymous. So you have the wallet address. You don't know who it is, but you can see exactly where the funds are going, how they're being spent, and all this other kinds of stuff. So you can track them very, very easily. It is actually a terrible place for criminals to be because it's the dream of any government or federal bureau to look into and to watch your transactions happen live and track the entire thing. So not a safe haven, but everyone who knew anything already knew that. And this is just a crazy stat saying the transactions at the time. So when they hacked Bitfinex and stole the Bitcoin in 2016, it was a $71 million in Bitcoin. But with the rise of value, it went to $4.5 billion. That is crazy. The only thing crazier than this is how they ended up losing it all, which is this right here. Apparently, they got on it and they left their private keys in a Dropbox cloud storage file. So for anyone who doesn't know all that stuff, Dropbox cloud storage, you can get access to that. The government, the feds, they can get access to that to get your private keys to take the Bitcoin. So if you leave your private keys somewhere, especially on the internet, you can have your Bitcoin stolen. If someone can get access to the file or to the place that you have your keys taken, you can get that stolen. So it's not Bitcoin getting hacked. There's some people saying Bitcoin got hacked. Again, not the same thing, just like with the Colonial Pipeline hostage thing with Bitcoin or ransom with Bitcoin. They actually didn't hack Bitcoin. The person who had the funds, who stole them originally, wasn't a very good thief. They kept the private keys in a cloud file that could get accessed by basically anyone who wanted to get access into that. So there's a big problem there. So the people were just done with their keys. Bitcoin didn't have a problem. Even more with government talk, we have another Canada Prime Minister candidate who is big on Bitcoin. So you see here, learned a lot about Bitcoin. But this guy is running for Canadian Prime Minister. I don't know when the elections are, when all this stuff is. I just know he's been tweeting about this and been being tweeted about quite a bit. But he's big on Bitcoin, supporting Bitcoin. We're seeing Bitcoin be integrated into everyone's kind of political case. So when you're running for office, if you're not pro Bitcoin or supporting Bitcoin, then you might actually have a problem on your hands. And it's just better to be pro Bitcoin and support Bitcoin as a whole. And then the news just keeps going. We saw Tesla's earnings the other day, and they confirmed that they are holding $1.99 billion in Bitcoin. They put in a $1.5 billion, I think, either 1.5 or 1 billion. Either way, they're up on their Bitcoin. They're doing pretty well, and it's working out as a reserve strategy. So the question is, more and more people, companies seeing this, are got to be looking at this and saying, we should have a reserve strategy with something with Bitcoin. It doesn't have to be as extreme as Michael Saylor, but it can go like Tesla or Square or all these companies where you just take a little bit, you put on your balance sheet. You take 1%, you take 10%, you put on your balance sheet, and you let it be a strength to your balance sheet over a period of time. That's what a lot of companies might be looking at now. Seeing Tesla, they're holding, they didn't sell anything, and they actually went negative for their Bitcoin. So it dropped below their rumored purchase price, like $35,000 or $34,000. So they were actually losing money on Bitcoin at one point, but ended up coming back, ended up making money, being up money, and working out. The strategy is working out. And a Bitcoin miner ETF is starting to trade on the Nasdaq. This happens today. I guess the ticker symbol is we're gonna make it for Valkyrie. They've been trying to get interesting with their ticker symbols. So I don't know. I haven't looked into the ETF itself, but I'm guessing it's just a Bitcoin miners, a ETF of all the Bitcoin miners put into one as a company, and you can invest in all the Bitcoin miners all at once. Which begs the question: if the Nasdaq, this isn't the SEC approving this stuff, but if the Nasdaq's approving a Bitcoin miners ETF where you can invest in the infrastructure of Bitcoin, why are we making it so hard to just get a spot Bitcoin ETF so you can invest in the thing itself? In Bitcoin, stop investing in futures, stop investing in miners and infrastructure, but in the spot asset itself. Why is this such a big deal? Why is it so scary to have a Bitcoin spot ETF where you can buy the underlying asset and not buy derivatives or not buy infrastructure that has to do with the asset? It just seems like a lot of hoops for really no reason. And we got even bigger news with KPMG, another company in Canada. They're one of the big four accounting firms. They just announced that they added Bitcoin and Ethereum to their corporate balance sheet. Game on, says Pump. Game on, indeed, one of the big four in accounting is taking on Bitcoin, putting it in their reserves, putting it in their balance sheet, and they even got Ethereum as well. So the two big cryptos, it'll be interesting to see how they broke it down, if it's more Bitcoin or more Ethereum or equal. But this is still everything moving forward, adoption, everything moving forward. If you're fixated on the price only, which has actually had a pretty good pump recently, but if you're fixated on the price only, you're going to miss out on a lot because there's so much happening behind the scenes. Companies adopting Bitcoin. We saw, Bitcoin stuff, the government things, maybe not positive. That can be spun into a bunch of FUD, but they're still getting interested in Bitcoin. Political people running for office, they are all have to support Bitcoin. They're all pro Bitcoin that are coming up and getting, a lot of attention. There's just so much going on. And if you ignore it and look at the price only, you're probably gonna miss out. And the news just keeps flowing in. Cash App enabled the Lightning Network on Cash App, so everybody on Cash App can now send Bitcoin on Lightning. So you can send Bitcoin for free or maybe a penny on Lightning to anybody you want, and it seems like it'd be a good thing. The Lightning Network, everyone's going to probably plug into it eventually down the road. If you just look at online payments and you look at the fees associated with Visa and MasterCard for the merchant has to pay it. It's like 3%, 5%. It could be sometimes 10% if you're like a small business or something. And if you just put in Lightning, you can eliminate those fees, basically go feeless. You make more money as a business. Everything just goes so much better. So good to see Lightning being on the adoption here. And obviously this is Jack Dorsey. He's the guy in Square. He's involved in that. And he's big on Bitcoin, so no shock that Square and Cash App is big on Bitcoin and getting this Lightning thing going. And then just to finish this video off, we all saw what happened with Canadian truckers on the GoFundMe, where GoFundMe basically took everybody's money, didn't put it to where they wanted to go, took it and said, we will put it where we want it to go. So if you don't see the problem there, I mean, come on. If you put your money somewhere and it doesn't go there, you'd be a little upset, regardless of whatever the case is, if you like it or not. If you put your money to go towards something and it didn't go towards that, you'd be a little upset, right? So this is the Bitcoin for truckers thing. This started a couple days ago and has raised, this is 1.2 billion sats, which is 12.6 Bitcoin. So it's still getting started here. A lot of people got to get introduced to Bitcoin and how to use this, how to donate it and stuff, but it's doing really good. So you can see their goal right now is 21 Bitcoin, 2.1 billion Satoshi, and they're at 60%. But they've raised a good amount of money, and this is a GoFundMe made a great advertisement for Bitcoin. So there's a ton of news going on Bitcoin. If you are fixated on the price, like we said before, if you only stare at the price and say bullish or bearish based on the price, then maybe short term you can make some predictions, you can do something, but long term you're gonna miss out when the fundamentals and adoptions moving forward and Bitcoin is getting adopted, being tied into companies and people's lives. And it's just everything moving forward. It's just going so well. So if you're not looking at that and paying attention, you're probably going to miss out. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I'll see you guys in my next